Hey Facebook family and friends, Leah Kosatsky here, and I am coming to you live today to talk to you about guilt. And as I'm waiting, this is a Girl Talk series, Giving Yourself Permission, with my good friend Chelsea Frederick. I'm going to, I think I invited her on already, but let me see if I can. Hey, Calpan. All right, let's see if I can invite her on, because obviously the two of us are going to be talking together on, there she is. Okay, awesome. Okay, let's see how I can do this. Perfect. So I am going to invite Chelsea on, and I can't wait to see her because we have so much to talk about. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, let's see if it works. I love this like joint Facebook Live. You know, it's like technology at its finest. And oh no, it didn't work. Let me try again. I would love for you guys, like whoever's watching, for you to please, as we are going along, this is meant to be a Q&A. It's meant to be a discussion, engaging, and we totally honor everybody that's watching this series. So let's see if it works. There she is. Yay.
I'm sorry, my phone was giving me some trouble. And I'm hoping that it'll let me turn my phone, because this was the problem. Am I sideways now?
You are.
So I'm gonna have to be this way the whole time now. Okay, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, me too.
A little bit of a glitch, but I'm here. I made it.
I know. But can you see me like in big and you in small? Is that how it's working, or?
Yeah, so it's different from last time.
Yeah. I know.
Interesting.
I don't know
Okay,
why.
maybe.
That's
Well, it could be Facebook changing things around.
It could be. But that's okay, because we're both here and we're both
Yeah.
going to talk about guilty pleasures. That's what we were talking about before we jumped on. But so I just want to welcome everybody on this particular live stream. So if you're watching and you like this content, please share it with your friends. Invite your friends to watch as well. We know that guilt affects a lot of people, especially women in society, and most likely men as well. So we really, really want to open up this conversation on really healing it and making it better. And in doing so, what we're really doing is bringing like a consciousness around the topic of guilt. So hello to Mary, hello to everyone watching. So why don't we go ahead and dive right in, Chelsea, because we did have a lot to say before we got on this live.
I know.
You know, just on the topic of guilt, and you actually brought it up. So why did you bring up this particular topic?
Well, it was it was actually something that came up for me earlier this week. So I have a private, no, sorry, it's a free Facebook group that I run, and it's called Rebel Grace Squad. Oh, thank you, Calvin.
Yeah, thank you.
And
Hi,
within this
Lamorla.
group, so this is a group that I run, and I every Tuesday I do guardian angel cards. I do a guardian angel card reading. And so that was the theme, or the card topic that I pulled on Tuesday. It was all about guilt. And so, you know, I had a little chat within my group about that. But then, because we're doing this Giving Yourself Permission series, as I was talking about it, I just thought, oh, this is a perfect, you know, lead in and fit for this conversation. And I was amazed when we were chatting about it at just how much we came up with. Because, you know, when you hear the word guilt, it's just a word, right? But it's a very loaded word. You know, when we talked about it, I couldn't believe all that we you know came up with. In fact, we didn't think we'd have enough time to talk about everything. So this might be, you know, sort of like our intro to guilt, and then this is something that, you know, we might carry through for future calls. And that's one thing for anyone that's watching now live, or anyone that's watching the replay afterwards. You know, we want to hear, you know, where this impacts you, where guilt is really impacting your life, and, you know, what resonates with you. If there's a certain area of guilt, maybe there's one that we haven't even thought of, and that's really hitting home with you. that you'd like for us to address. We want to hear about it. If you can share or post below, even send us a private message. And it's something that, we like to talk and it's something that we would like to address, and definitely just to keep it relevant for everyone that's listening. But yeah, we thought kind of today that we would just do sort of like a broad sweeping conversation about all of the ways. And that's why we named this, it's the hidden ways that guilt can actually be affecting your life or even running the show,
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
affecting like the decisions you make and everything. So, yeah, Leah, do you want to just kind of start by, because I know we actually, when we had a conversation about it, we had different perspectives, like the things that came
Mm-hmm.
up first. So, do you want to talk first and then I'll share
Yeah, sure.
mine, the ones that came up for me?
Sure. Okay. When you brought up this topic of guilt, it was like in these like big bright letters, guilt, 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 right? So I like how you said that, it might be like ruling our lives, or it's what drives our decision making. And I remember thinking like, in the past that, well, now that I look back, now there's a lot less of it, but I wasn't really fully aware that guilt was the one that was in the driver's seat for me. And so it was pretty much determining my every single move on like my life, really. So like going to school and getting a degree. And I remember the very first like run-in, like conscious run-in I had with guilt was um, when I took a sabbatical off of university. It was like a sabbatical year, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. And one of my friends in the summertime, she's like, "Oh, why don't we go to Mexico?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's go to Mexico." And I had never been there. I didn't know where I was going. She booked my plane ticket and we went off to Mexico to sell timeshare. And while I was there, it was like, it was such an amazing experience. I met amazing people. Everything I did was fun, exciting. It was full of abundance and prosperity. I was making great money for a 19-year-old at the time,
Mhm.
a 19, 20-year-old. And then every day my parents would call me and they'd say, "Leah, you have to come home. You have to come home now because you need to finish your degree." And I was like, "What? Why do I have to finish my degree?" Like in retrospect, I actually didn't really need to finish my degree, but that's what they knew. And so I started like midway through my year there, I started feeling really guilty about, you know, having all this money and fun and friends and sand and beach and there's never a cloud in the sky there. I felt like, okay, well, that was like the beginning, the conscious like awakening of me being like, oh, well, I can't have it all. That just doesn't
Mhm.
happen. I have to like go home and sacrifice stuff to like make my way in the world. So I started questioning that. And then as I was going through like, my relationship and having children and stuff, every single move that I would make was guilt ridden.
Yeah.
And I take on full responsibility for this. I don't want to blame anybody for it, but like with my upbringing, it was like, well, you need to do this in order to get that. Like you can't have everything. And now being, a coach and a business owner and a single mom and like wanting more and desiring more, I used to think maybe I shouldn't have it all. Maybe that's not okay. It
Mhm.
was because there was a lot of guilt and shame involved in asking for more.
Yeah.
And thinking like, oh, I'm probably like a really spoiled brat. Like, I
Mhm.
can't have it all. Why would that ever happen to me? And so, there's a deep underlying root cause to all of this where I would say to myself, okay, well, I want it, but no, I can't actually have it. And so I had to do a lot of healing around that to to kind of like diminish that pretty much. It still comes around, and just in things where I'll go to school, pick up my kids, and then they'll be like, "So what are you off work?" And I'll say, "No, I actually work from home." And then all of a sudden, I get this like guilty feeling that I should be working as hard as them. And maybe I should complain, but you know what? Like now I'm aware of this, and I want to own it because like I don't have to choose to feel guilty. Like that
Yeah.
feeling guilty is a choice, and when you make it like conscious decision to not feel guilty anymore, then you'll find yourself in situations that are like, oh, wait a second, am I supposed to be feeling this way, or can I choose another way to feel?
Mm-hmm.
So that's how it's like a smidge. I mean, like you said, like we could write a book about this stuff,
Yeah.
right? Like
Oh yeah.
it's like tiny, tiny, just, overview of how I felt guilt or what brought up guilt in my life. But oh my gosh, I could talk for hours on
Yeah.
this.
Well, and that is a
What
really
about
good
you?
point. Well, I just like I'm just kind of sitting and listening and thinking like this is just one other thing. I mean, anytime I think about you, being so free and having so much fun in Mexico, and it's like, we're meant to feel free, right? We're meant to feel um, that, we love our lives, that we're enjoying our lives. And so that's just whoa, like hitting home for me in a whole other way, because we
Mm,
hadn't talked about that, but you're right. And a lot of this does come from our upbringing. And again, you're absolutely right that now as adults, we get to identify it, realize it for what it is and heal that so that we can move forward in our lives,
mhm,
because it's so true. I mean, I think that, and a lot of this does come from, previous generations and just the way that life was, things are changing and things are shifting. And, I think that,
yeah.
just examining it. And that's really, you're right, like why we wanted to have this conversation to just really illuminate this because, there's a lot of people out there that are letting guilt run their life without even really having that awareness. And so we really do just want to increase awareness and have, people that are out there, potentially suffering and really feeling stuck and trapped and not realizing the choices that we have and the ability that we have to shift that perspective
Mhm.
and to shift, the way that we're going about our lives. So yeah, thank you for just really like taking in what you're saying and just hearing it and just, even thinking about my own upbringing and how guilt played a role. It brought up, it made me think of this story. It's really interesting how guilt, because we can get it a lot from our parents, right? But this is an
Mhm.
interesting story within my family. So my grandmother, when my mom was, a teenager or in her 20s, early 20s, my grandmother would always put a lot of guilt on my mom. My mom, very free spirit, wanted to travel, wanted to be with her friends. And, even over the holidays, she wanted to just go off and do her thing. And I know that her mom would really, kind of guilt trip her about like staying home over the holidays and all of this. So my mom went the opposite way, where with me being raised, I think she really tried not to put guilt on me about these things and letting me have my freedom. So it's interesting when we're raised a certain way, sometimes we backlash and we do the complete opposite. And I
Mhm.
enjoyed that, but I still learned guilt in different ways. And I think for me, the big one is about work, like just feeling like I can't sit down. Like I always have to be doing something and I always have to be busy working because if I'm not, especially, again, having my own business, if I'm sitting and just like relaxing, this was a huge one for me. And I ran myself into the ground with this, like full on burnout and exhaustion. Because I've been in business for, I mean, I used to work as a naturopath and I did that for 10 years. And now my business has shifted more into coaching, with incorporating my naturopathic work. But my business has shifted so much and I have it designed in a way that works so well for me and that it does incorporate rest. But that was a huge learning thing for me. Just that it is
Mm,
okay. And it's not even okay. I think it's a requirement to incorporate rest, to incorporate pleasure, and to incorporate, things that just feel good, even into your workday. I think that our culture is set up in the way that, like the workplace is just so, I mean, I think there's some workplaces that are starting to become a little bit more fun and enjoyable, but
mhm.
it's really, just so focused on getting that job done to the point where everyone's exhausted.
Yeah.
And and then feeling guilty if they're, taking some time, even to take some vacation time or anything like that. So yes,
Oh
I
yeah, and then people get sick on their vacation time because they're overworked and they just feel bad about being on vacation. Like that's not a life. Like
yeah.
to me, it seems like it's like you're driving yourself into a black hole,
Mhm.
basically. Yeah.
Yeah, so we want to support anyone that's, you know, kind of in that situation and that feels like they might be in need of a shift in that, out of that direction and into a new direction. So you know, hopefully if anyone is watching this and is feeling that way, you know, reach out to us because we've got lots of ideas and solutions and ways that we can help support you guys. So what else?
Absolutely.
What are some other things that you thought of for guilt?
So I was actually, as you were talking, I thought of, you know, all the ways that guilt shows up in every single area of our life. So
Mm-hmm.
I like to see it as guilt and shame. So if you, for those of you that are familiar with like I think it's called the wheel of life or the circle of life, and then, you know, you put the pieces of the pie, and then there's like, you know, so family, friends, spirituality, business, money, that kind of thing. And then all of a sudden, you have a look at, so as you were talking, I was thinking about, well, what are all the different areas that we come across in our lives that that are driven by guilt,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so what are we holding ourselves back from in every single area of our life? Like, you know, you and I, before this call, we talked about guilt around pleasure, guilt around sexuality, guilt around, you know, even guilt around shining in business, making money in business, feeling guilty about running our own business, being our own boss, you know, mom guilt. There's just so many areas, or maybe even, you know, being in a relationship. And like, I remember feeling guilty about being in a relationship and not ever doing enough. It was like, it could never be enough, right?
Oh yeah.
So there's just so many areas that it's driven by this underlying feeling of, I guess, guilt comes from like not enoughness as well, right? Like it's just that feeling of like, oh, I can't, like, I'm not doing the right thing. And so yeah, I was just thinking about every single area and how that would affect every area. Actually, could you even imagine a life without guilt and shame? What would that even look like to you? Like, I,
No,
I don't
I
even know.
know. These are, wow, you're bringing up some big questions. Because even like your question about like, where does it really come from? Like, what is the origin of guilt? You know, like that, these are
Mhm.
all really interesting things to think about. I know a lot of guilt, you know, having been raised, you know, in a Catholic upbringing, I know that there's a lot of guilt that comes from religion. You know, there's a lot of, I guess it just maybe the way that families have been, you know, throughout the centuries. Maybe it's just
Mhm.
a, you know, a family thing. I think it's definitely a cultural thing, probably within different cultures. There's different aspects, and maybe
Yeah.
there's less guilt. I don't know. I mean, a world without guilt, yeah. Like, what would that even
Yeah,
look like?
what would that even look like? Like,
Yeah.
you know, for those that are watching, like, what would that even look like for you in your life? Like a world without guilt, a life without feeling guilty, ever,
Mhm.
in any, like, in all areas of your life, whether that's work, play, parenting, sexuality, relationships, business, money. Actually, Chelsea, my sister-in-law showed me a video last night. I don't know if you know Sadhguru.
No, I don't.
So Sadhguru, I can actually share the link to this video. It's so interesting. But so he talked about how in, I think it was in the last 2,000 years or 1,400 years, over a period of 200 years, let me get my numbers straight. About
Mhm.
14 million women were burned at the stake. 14 million women for like witchcraft and for
Yeah.
shining their light and speaking out. And they thought back in the day in Europe, they thought that if they kept on doing this, then society or women would would learn not to speak out, you know, would learn their lesson and be like,
Out of
okay,
fear.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm not gonna speak out. I'm not gonna shine. I'm just gonna like go back down in the shadows and just be a woman, right? Like
Yeah.
not really like be myself. And so there might be a lot of like residue from that
Mm.
happened where even just feeling guilty and being ourselves and wanting more and wanting to speak out our voice and our truth, like especially as heart-centered entrepreneurs, where we need to heal a lot around that. And we talk, you and I both like teach on healing and healing like that part of ourselves that is feeling that way, that's feeling like less than, to actually like rise up and shine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
so
that's a
interesting.
phenomenal amount of women.
Oh, it's huge. And it's
Mm-hmm.
no wonder. And, I guess that I never thought about that, the connection between guilt and fear as well, like
My gosh, yes.
how fear of speaking up, fear of standing up for yourself, fear of going for what you want there, that, just with shame, they're really tied to guilt. And wow, that, you can imagine how that would just get into the collective consciousness of women and how that
Totally.
would hold us back. And, it's so beautiful right now that we're seeing the emergence of this new bravery and, challenging this. There's a huge amount of healing, I think, that we each as individuals need to do on our own,
Mm-hmm.
within, our own personal experience of guilt and fear and shame. And I think that it's one thing because, and you brought this up as well, like, if we were potentially made to feel guilty by someone growing up, like in any situation, we have to really own it within ourselves when we heal it, right? Like it's not about
Yeah.
making them stop. It's about how we going forward are going to respond to it. And this is a whole other aspect of guilt that I think is really important, that we talked about before that we wanted to share on here is how when someone does, either through, passive aggressiveness or through outright words that they're saying to you, how do we as individuals respond?
Hmm.
Do we back down? Do we comply? Or do we stand up? Do we say no? So this is a really important thing to examine within each and every one of ourselves. If there's healing that needs to be done, if there's empowerment, if there's a new way of learning how to communicate our needs and our desires. There's so much there.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, for anyone that's listening and feeling, any sort of resonance or, like this is really lighting up some areas where they're feeling like they have a need to heal in our lives. That's, a specialty of both Leah and I. It's an area of work where we really, both in our unique ways, that we really like to really help women dig deep and get a really clear understanding of what's really going on, what's really running the show. And there's so much freedom on the other side of that after healing.
Mm.
I've gone through a lot of
Yeah.
this on my own, just in the last, well, really in the last 15 years. I think it's been a bit of a process. It's been a bit of a learning curve, but I don't think it has to take that long. I think that a lot of it is finding, the right people that understand this and that can help. And I think that as women are all going through this at once, there's this also emergence of amazing, incredibly powerful healers that understand. And
Absolutely.
so there's so much support out there. And, this is just these conversations I think need to just keep being had. And
Yeah.
we're going to keep having them.
I would love if, for those of you that are watching, hi, Casey, Lane, Lori, Valerie, Sylvia, Erica, I would love to, open up the conversation. What areas of your life are you experiencing the most guilt? And, like it seeps into lots of areas as well, and we are barely even aware of it. It's kind of like a fog, pretty much. So like when you lift the fog away, you can actually see much clearer and do so much more with it. So if you're listening, or if you're listening in the future and you want to make a comment on what areas of guilt are affecting your life, please feel free. Or if you have any questions, feel free as well. Hello to all of you who have joined. Hi, Shireen. Hey, Lynn. So let's tell them about our groups, our free Facebook groups.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we'll provide the link. We'll provide the link below as well.
Yeah, definitely. Should I go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. All right. Well, and I'll just introduce myself. I know I didn't really introduce myself at the beginning, but for anyone watching just that wants to know a little bit more about what I do. So I'm Chelsea Frederick, and I started out as a naturopath, but throughout my life, I've always been so fascinated in transformation. And that's really one of my true loves, is helping someone heal through transformation, especially if they've been through trauma or a major life change, and helping them really heal on a deep level. So not just a physical level, but a mental, emotional, spiritual level, and helping them really get so clear and connected to who they are and what they're here for in the world. And I have a Facebook group that I've created called Rebel Grace Squad, and it's really about that essence of bravery and connection to spirit. And within that group, it's really, I mean, I draw from my knowledge as a naturopath, but also, the work that I do as a transformational healer. I'm also really interested in the law of attraction and helping women find abundance in their lives. And what's happening, if you are interested in joining this Sunday, I don't know if I've talked to you about this, Leah, but hopefully you'll join too. But starting this Sunday, I'm actually doing a free challenge, and it's through or with the program that I created. It's called the 7 Strands of Alignment. And so it just helps with really practical tips for how having or increasing alignment in your life. So we're starting a free 7-day challenge starting this Sunday, October 14th. And all you have to do is just be in the group, and you'll get messages from me and, some little instructions on ways to help deepen the learning. So that's exciting. Rebel Grace Squad.
Love it. Rebel Grace Squad. I love the name of your group. It's so awesome.
Thank you.
So I'll tell you about my group. For those of you that are watching, we are on my personal Facebook profile. So you probably, like those of you that are here, probably know the work that I do. So I'm a business and life purpose coach for spiritual fempreneurs, so spiritual women who are entrepreneurs or entrepreneurial spirit. And what I do really is I do tons of healing around what is going on deep down. So like generational healing, upbringing healing, that kind of thing, where we dive deep, and in diving deep, it allows us to transform quickly and figure out what it is that we actually want to create in our lives, rather than just be a passive observer and taking in things like guilt and having it drive us rather than us drive our own lives. So to create our own lifestyle around what it is that we love, doing, whether it's travel, family, just ourselves, basically, and to serve other people in the world. So the name of my group is Manifest and Thrive for Business Goddesses, and I provide content in that group. You can also promote if you want in that group as well, promote your own stuff. And I love what I do so much. It's like I love teaching people about transformation and why they should step up into their own, into their light, be more strategic on what they're doing in their life. So I think it's like a great mix of strategy, personal development, law of attraction. I love teaching about manifestation and just like being grateful for all that we have. Because we're in this day and age that, it's so amazing. Like we're on this platform and we can share our message with the world. And I don't know how many viewers we'll have, but it's just so neat that we can actually share our message without having our own TV show. Like we could talk, we have a conversation and allow other people to witness it. And at the same time, transform other people's lives just by having a discussion on this particular topic. So we're in an age where so much is accessible to us, and it's so easy to shine our light. Then it all comes back to our topic of the day, which is guilt, right? And so if you're feeling guilty about shining your own light, then there's something that needs to shift within you to make that happen for you, to be like in front of your ideal audience, and to live the life that you really want to claim.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, so much good stuff in there. Yeah. Well, and
Awesome.
I have to say, Leah is such a rock star. I caught one of her videos today, and it's all about these just amazing tips for increasing your network and just reaching out
I
to
know.
people. And again, like with what you're talking about, I agree so much. I love technology. I think that, you hear so many people that are often kind of down on it and saying how it's, affecting relationships. But I think it's just how we use it. And it's really, it's the people using it, right? There's nothing, technology, just like money, doesn't have a good or badness to it, right? It's just how it's used and what it's used for. And really, you're so right. It gives us so much opportunity and so many ways to connect, even ways that we couldn't connect 10 years ago. It blows my mind, really. I love it. And yeah, so this
Oh
is
my God. Like what, did Facebook Live just start? What was it, like a year ago or something?
Well, there was Periscope first. So I think that's the other
Oh
thing
yeah.
that's so cool is that all these really creative minds are starting their own apps, and then Facebook or Instagram sees the benefit of incorporating them. I don't even know if Periscope is still around, but did you ever use that?
No,
That
no,
was
I
the
never
start.
did.
That was the start of
Mhm.
all of this. And so you could like go on to Periscope and follow all the same people you were following on Facebook, but it just made so much more sense to just do it in Facebook. So I hope that the Periscope people were handsomely rewarded. I think they started
Oops, I
it.
think it's still around.
Is it really?
I think so.
Oh, so maybe they just, oh, that wouldn't be, well, either way. It's amazing, and it's really a good, I think it's just such a great tool for anyone that
Mm,
wants to get their message out there and
yes.
have a platform and have,
So, I just got a call coming in.
oh,
So, this is what happens when you're on Facebook Live, right?
yeah.
So I would love for, if you're watching in the future and you do have questions or comments, please tag us in this post. We've shared this particular live to all of our groups, our professional pages, and you can watch it on any of those platforms. If you like the content that you see and are hearing, please share it with your friends and family. We will be offering these, discussions are every Thursday at around noontime Eastern. So if there are topics that you want to hear about, by all means, reach out to us in private. And if there's something that you feel like you need to talk about, that you need help with in supporting yourself, your life, your business, your health, you can reach out to either Chelsea or myself or both of us.
Well, and
And we can have a look at how we can help you, each one of us.
I have to tell you before we sign off, and I'm
Mhm.
going to tell you this without the slightest bit of guilt, that I am actually not available next week because I'm having a massage.
That's
So,
all good. It's
yeah.
perfect. We'll do it
So,
another time on Thursday or another, we're doing
yeah,
them weekly.
if we can fit them in, if we can fit it in next Thursday, or maybe we can even shift it to a different day, but because I adore doing these, but yeah, I have this monthly massage that it's in the
I
books
love
and
it.
it's yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, no guilt.
No, you shouldn't at all. Yeah.
Yeah.
Standing massages are the best.
Oh yeah.
Like in the books, Yeah.
Yeah. And they keep happening. It's awesome.
Yes.
Well,
All
especially if
right.
yeah. Okay, shall we go?
So thank you to everybody that watched today. Thank you to everyone that's watching in the future. It has been so much fun. Thank you, Chelsea, for being here and for
Yeah.
sharing.
Thank you so much. Always so
Yes,
much fun.
it
All
is.
right.
And we will see you again soon.
Okay.
All right. Bye for
Everyone.
now.
Bye.